Excellent. Oh, recording.
All right, we're going.
I always get
Good
way too
afternoon.
excited.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. This is Latanya with King County Equity Now. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm joined by Sean Glaze, the one and
Yes.
only. They, them pronouns,
Yes.
and also with King County Equity Now
Yes.
research team. And we got our episode 4 of our podcast today.
No, this is episode 5.
Is it really?
I did episode 4 under the dryer, remember?
Sweet. We're number 5. I missed 4. I was at work. Boo.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Episode 5.
Yes. There's got to be like some type of anniversary for when you hit like half of double digits. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Very cool. What are we talking about today? We have timeline, steering committee and stuff.
Yeah, and our calls to action.
Calls to action. Cool. You want to start it off with the calls to action, actually?
Yes. Well, let's start with that. Those are super important. Continue to write and email and call and get in contact with your council members and make sure that they know that you support Decrim Seattle and King County Equity Now's demands, especially to defund SPD by 50%. They are voting on Wednesday and on some amendments, and there's a big event for everyone to be out in the street. So Decrim and King County Equity Now are hosting a Take It to the Streets and Defund the Police March and Rally on Wednesday, August 5th. Starts at noon. Meeting at, meet at the youth jail, and going to march over to the city hall, and there will be a lot of people out, speakers out, and some other hosts. Artists. It's going to be a great opportunity to connect with the community and to let the council members and the city as a whole know where we stand as it relates to defunding SPD. Another call to action, you got to check out the newsletter. The King County Equity Now newsletter has several things in there that you need to do. So if you're not already getting that newsletter, you need to go on the kingcountyequitynow.com website and sign up for the newsletter so you can get very easy, click here, send an email there, and it'll make everything very easy for you as far as our calls to action. Except for Wednesday, you got to actually get out in the street, find yourself at the youth jail at noon so that you can march to City Hall and be a part of history.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And don't forget your masks and to
That's right. Mask, hand sanitizer. That's right. Please keep wearing your mask.
Yeah,
very important.
Stay healthy.
Yes. Yeah,
so that's the 5th. And then the 10th is like the vote for the actual money. So again, you got to keep up those calls, keep up the emails. They're working. It's totally working. You got to keep it up. Tell your friends. If you're an org, please tell your organizational members. And also consider writing like an org letter about like what this funds would do for you and your organization, because sometimes it's easy for city council members to think, oh, well, they say it's an organization, but is it just one person? And, so it's nice to have something that's a little bit more, I don't know, official or robust, or just a different way of connecting with them. Can we talk about timelines super quick?
Let's do it.
Yes. So, of course, this week you are contacting your city council members, but you're also, if you're interested in this research, you are continuing to email us, to call us, to come to teach-ins, to find ways to connect. I think teach-ins are great because you get to talk with other people and you get to ask your questions, and but also, like, if you're someone who really appreciates a phone call, you're someone who appreciates a text message, we've been available for that. We were both on calls today for a few hours just talking to different organizations, which helped us figure out what to talk about today at the podcast, because some of the stuff that came up was just like, what's the timeline? It's like, well, that's a reasonable request. One thing I do want to highlight is that we have not picked the organizations already. Like, I think there's some concern because of how quickly things will be moving that people have already been selected or, plugged in, and that is not the case. This week is a lot of just talking to people, meeting them where they're at, finding out their questions, helping to refine the process, learn what their concerns are, so that as we're moving more and more towards launching, that everyone's input has been accounted for. So please, you know, as you get your emails and as you get your phone calls, like, just definitely don't feel like you're behind the ball, like you're doing fine. The second thing that's happening this week is we are revising and refining that research cookbook, that toolkit that's going to help you do this research and know, you know, how to hit the ground running. It'll also include, you know, after talking to people this week, there was a lot of conversation around taxes and like little tax education around, you know, how people will be paid and how to maximize the tax, I don't know, their tax situation, which might include things like, you know, writing off mileage as appropriate and just other little things that people might not have thought about who haven't, had these kinds of jobs before. So we want to make sure that people have that education piece. So that'll be included in the research cookbook along with the training. So thanks, community members, for giving us that feedback. The other things that are happening, so this week is voting, talking to teach-ins, the last thing I just said, which was voting, teach-in.
The cookbook. Working on the cookbook.
Yes, busy.
I know. I know. And it's evening now. You know, usually you guys get us fresh in the morning, kind of fresh. I mean, I know. Maybe a good, like, yeah.
Mush.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So then next week is going to be like the vote actually happens in terms of the budget part. And then, you know, orgs are still reaching out to us. We're still talking and finalizing things. If there's enough interest, you know, like we have, let's say, you know, 5 or more organizations that have said, yeah, I'm in, I'm interested, then we'll go through like a more formal proposal process. So definitely keep your ears kind of open next week to find out more details about that. I mean, if, however, there's only like 1 or 2 orgs that are interested, we're not really going to go through a formal proposal process. So just want to put that out there. It would be kind of silly. So we really want to meet people where they're at. In a formal proposal process, the proposals will be reviewed by a steering committee. And so we've been working on finalizing some of the priorities within that. They'll include kind of obvious things. Latanya, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the criteria that we've landed on so far?
Yes. So we started kind of putting together a list of things that individuals on the committee who are deciding the research funding should include. And some of those things are the following. Black people who are from Seattle. Seems like a pretty obvious one. Most impacted in this issue, and so definitely should be well represented on the steering committee. We don't want any participants to have any conflicts of interest with organizations who may be funded. So if you are working in a organization that may apply for funding or is somehow affiliated with funding that would come out of this money, being on the steering committee would be a conflict of interest. Additionally, no current or existing contracts or relationships with police or law enforcement officials. This is just to, again, it's kind of a conflict of interest thing. We're trying to get folks who are not involved in that area, who are more community oriented, to be involved in this process. People who have experience serving on funding boards, it's great. It brings a wealth of knowledge that can assist other steering committee members in making decisions and understanding how the process works. We definitely want to include individuals with experience with the incarceration system, formerly incarcerated folks. Definitely want that input. That's a big part of how we got here and what we're looking to avoid. And the last thing we have so far is experience, people who have experience advocating for vulnerable populations. For example, those who have worked with survivors of domestic violence or children or elders who have been abused. So those are just a few of the criteria that we're looking at for a steering committee member. So if you meet those criteria and you're interested, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you so that you can be considered when we're putting together that group.
Yes, indeed. So let us know. You can email us at, info@kingcountyequitynow.com. And how about like you put in the subject line, I don't know, steering committee interest.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of emails.
Yes.
And then that way we can get you to the right place. Well, I think those are all the main things we wanted to talk about. Timeline, steering committee, still accepting feedback and integrating that into every part of this process. Right now, we're about to start our teach-in. I see that we have a couple of people waiting to be let in. So I think we sign off. I don't know, anything else?
Sounds good. Only last thing is check the description. There's a link to the blueprint in there, also a link to the future teach-ins, and I think to the other podcasts that we've done. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Follow us, subscribe on YouTube.
That's right. I know, subscribe.
Cool. Well, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
All right. Bye.